Oh, hi Neil. John actually just called me to tell me to take a look at the thread. I haven't been on the board for a few days. Been kind of involved in some other projects here. And actually, I haven't been at the board for a while as far as for responding. I've been having some trouble with my fingers for typing, and things are actually starting to get a little better now. But I've been laying low for a while. But this one was important. I mean, first I just want to tell you that you're in my thoughts and prayers. I hope things work out well here. I know sounds dismal statistically, and most of the stories that we've shared on the site, those stories of people who didn't make it, who had the same kind of diagnosis and a very poor outcome. And unfortunately, it's the case for lots of people. It's the case for the majority of people who are diagnosed with advanced types of lung cancer. There are exceptions though, and there was one that I thought I had talked about it on the board. It may just be in some post somewhere, but I had a story that I kind of want to relate here, and it relates to you on two fronts. One is never giving up hope. That's one of the fronts. But another one of the areas that it kind of covers is kind of a thank you for coming and sharing your story, because I think when you did it, you did it in the sense that you're not expecting a miraculous cure here, but there's a message you wanted to get out. I had a case where I had a person who was a panelist for me for many years. It was about probably about 4 or 5 years at that point, but a very regular panelist. And I don't remember exact time frames of when all this occurred. I'm thinking it was probably in a clinic that I was doing in 1979 to 1980. I was at a company. In fact, I should be able to track that down. I can track down the company clinic date. But we had a woman who was in this program who I don't want to be locked into exact ages here, but my guess is she was approaching 60 at the time. I think she was nearing retirement age. She was just one of the members of a corporate clinic, and often when I did corporate clinics, I really never saw the people again. But every now and then, some of them would come back in to help with my community clinics, and I had one woman in there whose name was Charlotte, and she quit smoking. She was a very long-term smoker. She was having problems from her smoking. In fact, I remember the one that specifically brought her in was she was having peripheral vascular problems, and the way it was manifesting, she said she was at I think it was a 40th anniversary. I think it was her 40th anniversary party that her and her husband were celebrating, and people were asking them to go onto the dance floor, to have a dance together. And Charlotte's legs started to, cramp up on her, and she could hardly move. And she was saying that, she told her husband to just kind of hold her and sway her a little bit because she could not really work with her leg. And this was from peripheral vascular problems she was having. And when she quit smoking, it was one of the reasons that brought her in, but that improved almost instantly. And this was miraculous to her, and she said she felt better than she did for years when she quit smoking. And she went on to become a panelist who came a lot. She probably came 5 to 10 times a year for that 5-year period. And most of my panelists, I had a few who would come all the time, but most of them came pretty sporadically. She came very regularly and did a whole lot of panels. Well, about 5 years after she quit smoking, I get a call at my office from Charlotte, and you can hear she's very down. She's despondent on the phone. And I asked her, what was wrong, and she said, I don't know how to tell you this, but I'm in the hospital. She called me from the hospital, and she says, I have inoperable lung cancer. She didn't say staging at this point. All she said was inoperable. In fact, that's all I ever heard her say about this particular diagnosis. And her prognosis, they said they only gave her a couple of months. And she was, she just wanted to let me know, we had this long-term relationship at this point. She wanted to share that with me. And she said, and then one of the worst things, this is what she says, one of the worst things, she says, I can't do any more panels. I just can't do panels anymore. I had a clinic coming up in about a week, and she was going to be out, and I said, you could come to this panel. And she said, I can't come to a panel now, and tell people what, that I'm dying of lung cancer here. And I said, are you going back to smoking? And she said, no, no way. She says, I hate smoking. She says, as bad as I feel right now, I still feel better than when I was smoking. And, it was hard to, repeat that. Like, could this be real? But this is what she was saying. She was still very proud of her quit. She had no intention of going back to smoking. But she felt so terrible that she couldn't do panels anymore because she had nothing to share. Anything she said was going to be discouraging. I said, no, you got a very important message to share. I mean, don't do it for me, but if this was something you still want to do, you got an important message here. Not about getting lung cancer. That's not the message. The message you got to share is you don't want to go back to smoking after getting lung cancer. I got to tell you how many people came into clinics with the attitude, man, if I ever found out I had lung cancer, I'm going back to smoking. It's interesting. It was almost a universal kind of sentiment, I would say, in people thinking about quitting smoking to say this. But I had a number of people who got diagnosed with lung cancer. A lot of my regular panelists over the years. I mean, I did clinics for 30-some years. Many of these people ended up with lung cancer or other kind of smoking-induced illnesses, and I can't think of any who relapsed back to smoking when they got the diagnosis. They normally, many times, would come in, near the end because they wanted to still share the message that, they have no intention of going back to smoking. And Charlotte was in that category. I said, this is an important message to say that, even though that the worst has occurred that you could imagine, you still don't want to be a smoker. And she realized she wanted to share it more, and she came to that panel. I had a panel a couple of months later. She came to that panel too and was saying, they only gave her a couple of months at this point, and she doesn't know how much longer she had, but she still wanted to, let people know she still feels better than when she was a smoker, and she just was so proud of herself for smoking and for quitting, and she shared it at that panel. She shared it for, I don't know, another panel after that, another panel after that. And I started to ask her, how are you doing? And she was actually feeling pretty good. Her doctor seems kind of surprised, but she's been doing okay. Charlotte went on to do 18 years of panels with me, and she said it was about a year into it that her doctor was saying this was the miracle. He couldn't explain it. He was actually using her as a case study in a number of different, people he was dealing with. And she went on for 18 years doing panels when she was basically given no hope. And again, I just remember her despondency about, this imminent death and not being able to do the panels. And, neither one came true. 18 years later, I mean, again, this was a number of years back. She actually did finally pass away from cancer, and it was a lung cancer. Now, how it went this long to a remission, basically. I mean, again, I never really heard the official story of what happened. If that final cancer was the exact type of the original, don't know. But I mean, it sounds like she was in a remission of some sort. That's what she's told me all along. Was just nothing was showing, and she was doing well. But when she passed away, I think she was near 80, and again, I don't remember the ages, but she was doing panels all the way through, extremely sharp, very alert. It was very important to her family. There were many illnesses and problems she was dealing with that she was a crucial part of, having to deal with. And she had a lot of extra time that she didn't think she was going to have.